After Crash came back with the Insane Trilogy, which was a remake of the PS1 trilogy, many fans were waiting for a certain purple dragon to get the treatment as well. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And eventually Spyro Reignited was announced as a remake of Spyro 1, 2, and 3. By the way, thank you Activision for the review copy, appreciate it. Now I was looking forward to this, but maybe not for the reasons others might think. See, and this might be surprising for some of my viewers, I actually don't have much of a history with Spyro. I've seen the first game in action, and maybe played like 3 minutes of Into the Dragonfly, and that was kind of it. As a kid, it just didn't connect to me like Crash or any of the PlayStation 2 platformer mascots did. So I saw the trilogy as a good opportunity to check them out. And without that nostalgic bias, can I recommend these games as platformers today? By the way, just so everyone's clear, I'm going over the trilogy in a general sense, not too much getting into the nitty-gritty of each individual game. That's for a later time. Anyway, let's get into it. So compared to something like Crash, Spyro is more of the exact opposite, honestly. Instead of a linear point A to B level structure, Spyro is more of a sandbox platformer with big open areas where there isn't much of a goal, rather to collect all the objects in the level while doing some side objectives here and there. In Spyro 2 and 3, there's a lot of tasks that you need to do in a certain order in order to get a collectible, so they have a little bit more structure to them. Now obviously I gotta mention the graphical update, and not only do I think it looks better than Insane Trilogy, but I think Spyro benefited from it way more than Crash did. There was something about how the PlayStation 1 games looked to me that always kinda bothered me. Maybe it's because the characters weren't able to emote as much, maybe it's Spyro's eyebrows being polygons not attached to his head, but Spyro's cartoony world with its fantasy medieval setting really come alive here in much more detail, and I'm a pretty big fan of a lot of these redesigns, making them feel more like actual characters this time to me. And especially, can we talk about how well Spyro himself is animated in this game? His little bouncing walk, his energy just flowing through his body. I feel like he's way more of a character here than what I saw of him before. His redesign also looks a lot closer to his original concept sketches, and I think this leads to a much better character design, and he's easily the best he's ever looked. Whenever I was in a cutscene, my eyes were always on him because of how well they nailed him. And the redone voice acting is also fantastic. In particular, it's really great to have Tom Kenny back as Spyro. Though I do have some issues with this collection. For one, just like Insane Trilogy, I'm really surprised there are no subtitles. And I think it hurts this game more than Crash because 1, there's more dialogue, and 2, I found it really hard to hear them a lot of the time. And I do have a problem with the collection itself, more the physical version of it, based on what friends' experiences have told me. Only Spyro 1 is on the disc, while Spyro 2 and 3 are downloaded in the background. Which is really odd considering Crash didn't have to do that, so why does Spyro have to? Now it isn't a digital code or anything like that, but it does make me worry if this game gets delisted or anything like that. So since 2/3 of the collection are digital anyway, might be best just to grab it digitally anyway since there's not really a benefit of having it physical in this case. For first time players, there's also a lot of stuff they don't tell you I wish I knew about earlier. Like in Spyro 1, near the beginning I kept looking everywhere for one gem I missed in a level all the time, until I found out from my Twitch chat that sparks can actually point you in the right direction by hitting L3. The game never says you can do that, and yeah, that would have been nice to know for at least a prompt or something, especially considering how many of them are in 2 or 3. You could have just retroactively put one in, I don't think it would have been that big of a problem. And honestly, as a first time player, I did not enjoy these flying sections. They just did not do it for me. Spyro's control just feels really off here, especially when you're trying to go down and making sharp turns. And is it me, or does the time limit feel really strict here? I was barely able to pass them, and I can see how this will frustrate a lot of new players. But that being said, if you are a Spyro fan, well, let's face it, you either bought this already or are planning to buy it. But the ultimate question here, can I recommend this to someone who doesn't have any nostalgia to Spyro? And yeah, I think so. It doesn't have as much structure as some modern day platformers, but I found it just really relaxing to play, while the charming atmosphere kept me going. So yeah, it might have taken a little longer than it should have, but but I'm starting to see what all the talk was about, and hopefully if this does well, the flame that reignited his trilogy will keep on burning.